What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to The Real Down. I am Jimmy, your host. With me, Garrett, the co-host. What's
Going
up?
on? Back for another week.
Heck yeah.
Recovering from Memorial Day.
Actually, I don't think I did anything. I mean, I went and played around the golf. Oh no, I know I
I think
did.
it was
So I
like
broke my foot
international.
Friday.
Oh wow, yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah. I think it's not like a break. I think I got like a small stress fracture or something like that.
It's gout. You're getting old.
Oh no, I kicked the door frame at Mock Jesus.
God.
Yeah, the last two toes on my right foot, all the way down the right side of my foot's like very blue and purple. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that
So
doesn't
I didn't
sound
do
cool.
much. I ended up going. I think that was Thursday. Yeah, that was Thursday. Went to our local demo day. Had a bunch of kayaks out there for the public to try and check out. They had our club did a veterans. Our club's sponsored by Academy Sports.
Okay.
And they reached out to us and did a thing for veterans. They first 25 veterans, I think, that responded to our little post. They took them to Academy that morning and they gave them $200 gift cards to go,
Dude, that's awesome.
yeah, get a bunch of fishing stuff. And
Huh.
then they had the option to come out and fish with us and do a little tournament. I think like one guy did. Don't blame
Yeah.
him. It was on Wheeler. It was windy. Like, no, like I'm not mad about it at all. But pretty cool. And then we all got out there and goofed off on the little beach for the demo day. Tried a couple boats out. Tried the autopilot out. Pretty sick.
hmm
Um,
I saw you rolling around in a Slayer Max or something on
oh
someone's.
yeah, getting chased by the autopilot. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they didn't get the whole thing videoed. I was out there just trying out my buddy's new Slayer Max because I know they made some changes to it.
Yeah.
And I just look up because this autopilot's just been sitting offshore, spot locked all day. And then I look up and it's like the head of the motor beelines towards me, and the dude kicked it up on 7 or 10 or whatever it is, and just started chasing me around with it. It was hilarious.
Ghost ship chasing you down.
Yeah, a big old boat too.
Yeah.
No, that was
That's awesome.
pretty good. And then I went and did a float trip Sunday, and it was great because we only caught smallmouth, which is always fantastic. Thought I
Nice.
had some really good footage. I finally got my GoPro out of here and took it with me, and I used the voice controls. And apparently, at one point, I thought it was recording, or I thought it had stopped recording. So I said, GoPro start recording. Well, that will also stop it from recording.
Hmm.
So
Had it on the
right
wrong.
after I said that, because I came through a chute, came down a little bit of a rapid in a really hot area for good smallies, and I told it to start recording because it's a really good area. And 10 seconds after that, I caught it was only like 15 or 16 inches. I caught it on a spinning rod on the thing that Nick Audi told us last week, the little
Oh,
Ned rig
really?
trick. Dude, it
Yeah,
works. It works so good. and
I bet.
like it was like a solid 2-minute fight of it just peeling drag off that. Me like cranking the drag down on the reel and still couldn't get it in the boat. And
Fighting any current and all that.
yeah, none of the footage. None of it's there. And Dan was
Dang.
recording and his boat was facing the other way. So it sucks. Just I
Well,
finally
never
got
happened
motivated
again.
to
Yeah.
do some content and all this stuff, and then it's just poof gone, and I'm like, ah. So I don't mess with this crap. What are you recovering from? Get drunk? A lot of drinks?
Uh, just a little did that, and I mean, it seemed like it was international fishing holiday weekend, and I didn't fish at all. uh, just did some light remodeling stuff around the house, trying to get our house ready for
Le Bambino.
yeah, little baby Johnson coming in. So
Oh, that sounds great. I don't know why. Baby Johnson.
yeah. Uh, so yeah, I didn't do much fishing, but got to watch everybody's highlights from the weekend, live vicariously through them. So
Hey, sometimes we need a break, man. Maybe
yeah,
next weekend, because
yeah. How
you got a tournament next weekend on Tim's Ford.
this weekend?
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
I think I'm still good to go Sunday if you wanted to go goof off on Gunnersville.
Yeah, I'm down. We got a lot of stuff coming up. It looks like the only thing I was a little sad about is that I'm in this little monthly, and I was only 2 inches behind the lead, and I had two 16-inch fish that I need to cull, and I just never went fishing to make.
Well, that'll do it.
Yeah,
Came up 2 inches
yeah,
short. Bet you're
yeah. I
used to
was
that.
like,
Hey.
I could go work and make the same amount of money. I'd probably win for that, or just go fishing. So I chose.
Well,
But
just say
anyway,
that you were being an adult. Good decisions. Good job.
yeah, yeah, we'll say that.
Well, as promised this week, folks, we've got on the winners, first and third place of the most recent Hobie event out on Kentucky and Barkley Lake, and areas that I don't know a lot about. I know, Garrett, you got some experience with it. You fished the event.
Yeah,
I know that this event is kind of got some history for Hobie, because anybody that's been around long enough to know about the Hobie Opens and everything, Kentucky Lake was the location for a
yeah.
large
It's
sum of
kind of
that.
the birthplace of the Hobie series, and pretty much a lot of other series too. Like,
Yeah, Kentucky Lake used to be fire back in the day. Now, man, most folks just want to stay away from it, me
yeah,
included. I don't. I don't care. They can just keep that one.
yeah. I mean, it's got its ups and downs, but it's kind of starting to make its upswing, and I'm sure we'll hear all about that here in a little bit.
I think that that's true for a good majority of the Tennessee River right now.
Yeah,
A lot of the lakes are fishing, like, overall better every year over the last few years. I know, like, Pickwick sucks right now, which
Hmm.
sucks because we have a tournament there next weekend.
Yeah,
But like, I've zilch for confidence for that. I don't even know if I'm going to fish it. It's been so bad to me these last couple of trips. So, but yeah. So I guess without further ado, we'll bring them on. We got one guy making a trip, pulling kayaks in tow, and so we'll work with him best we can. But we'll go ahead and bring him in with us today, Jim Orr, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce Abby's last name because I'm gonna mess it up. Abbondanza, I think that's
Abbondanza.
right. Danza.
Evan.
Ah, it's close.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm not looking at it, so that was all memory. So,
Yeah.
well, what's going on, fellas? How y'all doing
Close
today?
enough.
Good. How are you all?
We're
Doing
making
well.
it.
How about yourself?
Hanging in
We,
there.
yeah, best we can. I trying to get home on time and get the show going and put the whole work day behind me. Finally got there. It's almost beer 30.
It's almost Miller time.
So, yeah, we've never had either one of you guys on, and we always like to give our guests a chance to introduce themselves, but especially when we haven't had you on before, so it's real fresh. No one really knows you as far as our show goes. So, Jim, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us, a little bit about you and how you got into the whole kayak fishing craze.
Obviously, my name's Jim Orr, better known as Jackson's dad. Uh, no, I honestly I got into it. We started toying around with buying a boat when Jackson was 12 years old. He's 20 and a half now, so that's a little over 8 years ago, I guess. And he had come across these pictures of what turned out to be a Hobie. Uh, and I'd called at the time. I had no idea who they were, but I called this place in Cincinnati, Strictly Sale, and set up a demo. Um, Earlier in the week for the weekend, turned out we've got a Hobie dealer right here in Fort Wayne. Um, and so we ended up going to the place here in Fort Wayne and demoing that. Fell in love with it. Uh, Jackson, where this outfitter's on a river, so got them out in the boat, and then they happen to have a 17T there also, and my
Okay.
daughter lives in Washington. The last thing I wanted to do when I saw the price tag was buy three of them, so they cut me a deal on the 17T. I bought a 17T, and uh, it was a used team boat. It had been used for a year, but it
Hmm.
was a Hobie 14. Um, and then I grabbed my camera and we started toting those things around. And the 17 was it was a hell of a boat. A lot of weight to that thing.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
if anybody listening doesn't know what that is, just Google Hobie PA17T. It is huge. Like,
It's huge, yeah. But I mean, I could pack anything I wanted to pack in that boat, especially when I was going out solo. Um, and we started fishing here locally, and his first tournament, he placed. I think he placed second in his very first tournament, and I took some fishing poles with me, but I was taking pictures most of the day, and at the time, it was a 3 fish limit, and I ended up catching 3 that day. And I did nothing crazy, but I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, this was fun. And a year later, when he was 13 years old, we found ourselves Mike Denzel here in Fort Wayne. He's on the regional team. Got to know him pretty well through the purchase. Got with the 17P. I probably wore AJ McWhorter out, asking just ton because at the time he was the regional rep for Fort Wayne. So I was, they gave me a cell phone number, which that was a huge mistake. And calling him, asking him all kinds of questions, whatever, and within a year we found ourselves at Kentucky Lake for the oh my gosh, I can't remember what it's called. I got the Hobie Bass Open Series, but it was the Bass Open that they do, and Jaxton, we begged and begged and begged. We didn't know anybody in the room. We knew them from social media. There was Eric Siddiqui, there was Jay Wallen, Christine Fisher was there, Jody Queen, Matt Ball. The list goes. Guillermo, Russ, all these guys, they were all there. But nobody knew who we were. And they were like icons. Because Jaxton at the time, and I mean, that's all he did. He didn't play video games. He watched YouTube. He watched anything he could get his hands on that had to do with fishing, and
That's awesome.
and begged to get him into the.
Against his idols at the time.
Well, that was the thing. He wanted to, but because of his age, they wouldn't allow him to sign up in the adult division. So and I had to go out with him. Wherever he went, I had to go with him, and so he ended up having to fish the youth division. Well, he won the youth division, and I want to say his 3 fish limit over the 2 days, he ended up with it was either 103 or 108 inches, but it was enough that he would have placed like 7th or 8th in the adult division. And that's where it just kind of, the camera turned on, and it's like, hey, and not to mention, I mean, we had a great time, a fantastic time. So, we started fishing some of, KBF used to do the one night or the one night stands. We've got so many memories of sleeping on boats and fishing in the middle of the night and doing that kind of stuff. We fished our local group, the Indiana Kayak Anglers. I'm one of 3 of the board of directors with Matt Gibson and Jason Young, and got a heck of a group of guys that fish here in Indiana with the Indiana Kayak Anglers. Fished all those, and then when the Bass Open Series, we opened ourselves up to the KBF, and then on to Hobie Bass Open. So, quite honestly, that's how it all happened. And the only way Jaxton was getting there, when he was 13, 14, 15, he needed a ride. So we went together everywhere we went. So it's been a little different since he got his license. But nonetheless, I mean, I see him more on the road than we see each other at the house or even at campus. He's a student at Carson Newman University on their fishing team.
Yeah.
But we crossed paths and spent a lot more time on the road together. And this group of people became family. So it's been awesome,
pretty cool dynamic.
And that's what I look forward to. It really
awesome.
is. It really is.
That's insane to kind of hear how it started, and that Jaxton's been a threat from the get-go.
Yeah,
like
naturally talented, man.
And Jim, for anybody that's for anybody that's listening to this show knows, most of these folks that listen keep up with leaderboards and stuff. Jim's not bad either. Obviously he's on here for a reason, But I don't know how many times you'll see those two names within just a couple of places each other on the leaderboard. So Jaxton's a hammer, but don't count yourself out at all.
I appreciate that.
Do you guys get
I'm
competitive
usually going for the
between each other?
points. He's going for the win every time, and I'm usually going for the points.
There you go.
Gotcha.
The old wise
Consistent.
man tactic versus the young buck. Well, Abby, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, man? Give us the grand introduction.
My name is Abby Abbondanza. Thank you for having me on. I am located out of Pennsylvania, and I apologize. I'm driving because I got the Central Time mixed up with the Eastern Time.
Oh, dude, it's all good.
No worries.
I was actually on the lake, but I am a. Everybody knows me and knows I'm a huge smallmouth guy. I'm a finesse guy, and my kayak journey didn't start until about 3 years ago. I'm 51. I did music full time for 10 years. I toured on the road. I was a front man for a band called the Poverty Nut Killbillies, and we signed a deal. Yeah, we signed a deal out of Nashville with a major label in 2005 to 2008, and then I went on after the band broke up in 2008. I signed 2 other record deals, solo deals. And so I toured 280 dates a year for about 7 years.
Ooh.
And lived on a bus, basically. So my fishing was pretty limited other than taking a pole on the road with me. And so I was doing boat tourneys before I got into the music. And I started music late. I didn't start music until I was 27. And there was a lapse there where with the boat tourneys, because of the music being so demanding, I got after I think it was 2009. I got back in the boat tourneys, and about 3 years ago, my buddy, he's actually an ex professional UFC fighter, he Adam Milstead, he fishes as well on the Hobie Trail and everything, and he called me. He's like, dude, you need to come over to the kayak side. And I said, man, is there a boat big enough for me? And because I'm thinking kayak, I never understood what the fishing kayak was. And so I went and saw he at the time he had a Jaxton big rig, and I went and saw him, and I was like, wow, okay, it's pretty big. So I actually went and bought a Hobie. My first kayak was a Hobie 180 PA 14.
Yeah.
And within 4 months, I had a 360. So once I saw that 360, I was like, yeah, this forward and reverse thing got to go.
Yeah.
And then I started doing the national scene 2 years ago. And my first year, it was a learning curve. I did take 5th in the Susquehanna BOS. That sold out in a matter of minutes, actually. And then this is my second year. I made tournament champions last year with points. And
pretty solid first year.
So my first year, and I made. I felt that I was just getting the hang of it and understanding how you basically have to learn how to fish again, because it makes you really narrow down how to fish. And you just can't jump on a 250 horsepower motor and go. So for me, that was the learning curve. Was okay, I got to be a little bit more methodical on how I pick areas, how to fish, and what suits me, my strongholds and everything. And so that first year was a good learning curve. I did a lot of regional stuff. Had a lot of top 10 finishes regionally, and so I'm very competitive. So I got right into the national scene the following year, and that's when I went ahead and I had a couple top 20 finishes, and at the time they were only paying 10% of the field. So usually it was the top 10 or the top 15. And I did cash a check once, and then come close a couple times. At Wisconsin, I came in 11th, and they paid the top 10, I believe. And but that 11th secured my TOC spot for last year. And I beat it with a buzzer beater. Literally with a minute left, I caught a 19.5-inch smallmouth that called me 9 places.
Wow, there you go.
So, and
meant to be.
So jumped me right up to 11th, and that secured my spot. I think he jumped first for points for the year. So this year I had a whole new ball game. My plans were to do, and that was to be focused and fish my strengths. I learned a lot fishing down south last year. I need to be more of a power fisherman, and I learned that real quick on Chick. And the second day I did power fish, and if I would have did that the first day, I probably would have been cutting the chuck on the tournament. So from there on out, I picked up that jackhammer. Pretty much, I don't put the jackhammer down in the spring. My first tournament this year, my first tournament this year at Harris Chain, I cut a check. I literally did not put the jackhammer down, but for 1/2 hour on the last day, and I fished it nonstop, and then went to Caddo. I come in 53rd out of 220 or 210, whatever it was, in Caddo, and got good points there. And I basically just fished a Senko and a jackhammer there, and but you still take 8 rods with you.
Yeah,
stick to your guns. If you're lucky, it's only 8.
Yeah,
and and then Santa Cooper, I didn't do well. There was only one day they fished it because high winds on the first day, which was a good call. And I actually zeroed. That was the first time I ever zeroed in a tournament. And
well, welcome to the club. It sucks.
So, yeah. It sucks, especially when you caught it. Especially when you caught a 7. I caught a 7-1 in practice. And
that sounds like me on Pickwick 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was that was a little heartbreaking. And then I didn't go to Seminole, and this last one, Kentucky. I had never fished Kentucky. I got down there on Tuesday morning. I drove through the night. Got there 4:30. Took a little power nap or half an hour. Got up, started getting dressed, started getting ready. Got all my stuff out. Went to go get my rods out. Left the keys home in Pennsylvania for my rod washers.
Oh no!
Oh God!
So I had to call locksmith at 5 o'clock in the morning. So that was a nice $100 bill. And then I fished Barkley the first 2 days. Got on a good jackhammer pattern and a swim bait pattern. Mm-hmm. And I felt confident if I needed to go over there, I could catch 75. I think I had close to 80 inches on one day. Yeah. And from what I heard, that was pretty good. If I had 80 inches, that was pretty good. And then on Thursday, halfway through the day, I decided to meet my buddy over Mid-Lake and Kentucky Lake. And I found John Klein and I found a pod of smallmouth that were literally 18 inches and bigger. We both caught over 90 inches.
Wow.
My first 5 fish was 92.25. So I caught there. And so I thought that was pretty phenomenal, considering that I haven't heard of 90 inches being even registered there.
I told my buddy going into it that I thought somewhere around 80 to 85 inches a day was going to win it. Turns out that was pretty close.
Yeah.
And it happened for a swim. It was all swim bait for John and I. And it was a 200-yard stretch. And it was just it went from 4.5 foot down to 8 foot. And that was it. Nothing spectacular about it. I think the wind was just right. It was pushing bait into there. And I found 3 other areas within a half a mile there that I didn't even fish Friday. I felt that confident that I had that good of a pattern.
Wow.
And come Saturday, I hurry up and got a largemouth limit. First hour I had my limit, and I think I ended the day with 73 3/4, and I was sitting in 35th place. I tried to get to the smallmouth. I got out there, saw them on live scope. They were there. There were 17-mile-an-hour winds. It was blowing 3-4 footers in. Plus, there was a marina there, and the marina was literally just all the boat traffic was making it even worse. So I could not get those fish to eat. I tried like hell to get them to eat. I could not get them to eat at all. And I checked it every 30 minutes. I went out and checked it, and I was fishing a bay right behind it that was protected from the wind, and could not get them to eat. So on the night of, myself, Ryan Lambert, and Adam Milstead, or I'm sorry, not John Klein, we were the only three had stayed. Jeff Malott had went home, and we were just tying up stuff. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna throw on I heard an old guy talking at the boat ramp on Tuesday, and he was talking to his buddy, and he kept on talking about purple this, purple that. So I tired of Peter. I could not get them to eat a Ned. Even that day that I tried to get them a couple different things to see what they would eat, just in case the swim bait wasn't working. And I could not get them to eat a Ned for the life of me. And Lambert's like, "Oh, you're crazy. Those fish will eat a Ned." I said, "I'm telling you, I tried every color. I tried a big TRD, a small TRD, a hula stick. I could not get them to eat it."
You put that like PB&J or something like that on there?
So I went with a peanut butter and jelly Fatty Z, and I put it on a shaky head instead of a Ned head.
Yeah.
And I tied it on that night. So I went to go try to catch a limit with a jackhammer first thing in the morning on day 2. And everybody's like, "Oh, bright bluebird skies. Those smallmouth are going to be there. They're not going to hit." And I said, "Well, I don't. Up north, that's a smallmouth day. When it's bright and sunny, it's smallmouth."
Yeah.
And I could not get him to eat that jackhammer that morning for an hour. So I started to panic, and I was like, "Ugh." So I went out to the flat. I got out to the flat. John and I were out there, and my second cast, I had a beer run colored minnows, Z-Man minnows on, and on a 1/4 ounce swim bait, and I caught an 18 1/4. And then I knew right then. I wasn't even on the flat. I just got onto the flat, and I figured that was going to be it. So it went dead for about 30 minutes, and I could not get him to hit that swim bait again. So I picked up that Fatty Z in the first cast, and I'm telling you, when this smallie hit it, it was like a freight train hit it. I don't know if they were grabbing it and running from other smallies or what was going on, but I literally took everything I had. I had it on a spinning rod. It took everything I had to catch up to them, every one of them. I caught my limit. I caught my next 4 in probably half an hour. And I was posting fish, but I wasn't paying attention. And John yells over, he goes, "Do you know you're sitting in second place?" I said, "What?" And I was like, you're joking." And I said, "There's no way," because I was in 35th place on day 1.
But the leaderboard was pretty tight all the way through from I think I was in 28th or something like that, and I was only like 3 inches from check range, and I think 12 inches from the lead. So it was like,
and my goal at that point was just to get in maybe to the top 20, and get some good points. No way I thought that I could get in the top 3. And so then I'm like looking, I'm like, all right, I'm checking to see if everybody's checking their fishing, because I knew there was guys the day before that couldn't until the tournament was over, like Russ and, Christine was submitting her fish, and Guillermo, and, I was checking on Ryan because Ryan was up there on day 1, and Jim and Jaxton, and I'm looking at everybody. I'm like, well, it looks like everybody's submitting their fish. And I said, so many stars had to align for that to happen. the guys who did catch them strong on day one, they couldn't catch them, in order for me to jump up that far.
Yeah.
And so I stayed in second place. I think they forgot to shut off the leaderboard. It was like 120. And I think at 115, Jaxton jumped ahead of me. And I saw he had a couple smaller fish. I was like, well, if he catches one fish, he's going to jump ahead of me. I only had 1.25 inches on him. And so kudos to Jaxton and Jim. I mean, they did great. And, at that point, I still didn't think that I was going to be in third place. And I got back to the wards. I got the text to come to the wards. And I was talking to Ewing in the parking lot. He's like, yeah, I jumped in front of Logan, and Logan was right behind me when they shot the leaderboard. So I'm like, well, if he jumped in front of Logan, then he'd probably jump in front of me. And then he told me his total, and I was like, oh, okay, there's a chance I might be in third place. And unless Logan called at the last minute. And that's what it was. Ewing jumped ahead of him in the fourth, and I did hold on to third. But for me, that was pretty surreal for me because Smallies is my game, and I caught so many fish that day that I just couldn't call 17 I needed 17.5-inch fish. I can't tell you how many 17.25-inch fish I caught that day.
All
the rest of the big ones that John and I were catching on Thursday, I think they were there because I was seeing some pretty big fish on last. I just couldn't get them to eat. And but John had caught a 19 on Thursday, but all my fish were like 18.25, 18.5 on Thursday. Same with his. And I quit keeping track after 92.25. I'm like, well, if I have 90 inches in smallies, I said, I'll be sitting pretty good.
Yeah.
And I just quit keeping track. I knew they were all big fish. They were all like 4 pounds.
Yeah, I mean, your day two total 88.5 inches. That was the second best 5-fish limit of the whole tournament.
That's okay. So I didn't know that. I knew on day 2 I had the highest limit by like 4 or 5 inches.
Yeah, definitely on day 2. So
I
for the whole
know
tournament,
that,
it was the second best of the whole. The first one was Francis Tran on the first day. He had 88.75 inches, so only quarter inch better.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, it worked out really well, but honestly, I didn't think Kentucky Lake fished that bad. That was my first time there.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely sounds pretty good.
I know it's easy to say now, but even during practice, I felt that it wasn't fishing that bad. I was catching some pretty decent largemouth.
Yeah. It felt like it was fishing pretty good that week leading up to the event. Like it was fishing a lot better than what a lot of people led on to believe, I guess.
And I know Lambert has had some horrific things happen there, in the house. He kept on saying, he goes, it's going to bite you. It's going to bite you if you go after the smallies. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was it felt really good to make that happen and get that submission to the TOC. Now I can go fish the other 2 that I'm fishing, which Cayuga, which I'm really looking forward to. And
it should be a smash fest.
Yeah, I saw
the MLF guys are up there this week. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this week coming. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be exciting.
Looking forward to that, and then I'll be doing a new river after that.
Nice.
Got a lot coming up.
Yeah, but even on day 2, I could not get him to eat that Ned. I tried.
Yeah, that's why I don't throw that shit.
And I tried. I know. Jim
Careful, hey, buddy. Hey.
And I threw a tickler, and I could not get him to eat that either. And I know Jim caught most of his fish on tickler.
Caught all of them on tickler.
All right.
Well,
sum it up for us. Yeah.
Well, let's hear about it, Jim. Tell us about do you have much previous experience with that lake? I mean, obviously, as you said in the beginning with Jaxton and being out there a couple times, did y'all make that a stop y'all made a lot? Whether it was a tournament or not, or Did you have a decent amount of
No.
history?
I mean, the only time we've ever been there is for a tournament. But when we go, especially when he was younger, I mean, really, for the most part, anytime I've ever been to Kentucky Lake, we've traveled together. This past time, we didn't. We haven't been back to Kentucky Lake for a couple of years, but a lot of history there. And I can remember, I think we put on 1,500 miles in Kentucky Lake, in a tournament week after we get there. Yeah, but the boundaries are bigger too when you can go down south and fish Big Sandy and whatnot. So a lot of times, we'd be launching 2 hours from Kentucky Dam Village. So on this particular one, I only had Jaxton got down there. I think he left on Tuesday, so he had Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I didn't get down there until early Thursday evening. I didn't get on the water Thursday, so I had Friday to practice, and so I was first place I went. I mean, I went over some things with Jaxton on, and I'm like, I'm going to check this spot out, this spot. I mean, Jaxton is nothing for him to launch 5 ramps in a day. He's very poised. He goes to particular spots, he checks it out, and he's off the water and onto the next ramp. For me, I'm lucky to get 3, and that's if they're fairly close. But I had gone over some things with him, and I'm like, hey, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go here, and he'd say, I went there too. Probably not worth your time. So I went and fished history at a place where Jaxton fished, where I did well the last time I was there, and I was on the Barkley Dam, and I caught some fish, but there wasn't any size to them, and I thought for sure, I could probably make it happen. Then I had picked a place down south, that I'd been going over with Jaxton. He's like, you'll catch a limit down there, but there's nothing big down there. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go check it out, praying that I didn't find fish. Yeah, praying that I didn't find fish because it was an hour and 10 minutes from the house, and that's the last thing I wanted to do. I just wanted to go to Barkley Dam because it was only 10 minutes away. But I went down there, and within the first 5 casts, I had a 19 1/4, and I thought, well, this could be a fluke. And I did. I put that tickler on, and I fished slower than and I'm a slow fisherman, but I fished slower than I've ever fished before. And within a half hour, I had a limit, and a decent limit too. So that's where I ended up deciding to go, and kind of like Abby, there were other guys there, especially on tournament day. There were 5 of us there, but everybody's beating the banks, and where I was sitting shallow throwing deep, and I just have to feel every single rock, and I probably went through somewhere between 40 and 50 TRDs that weekend, over the 2 days, to the point. I mean, I was grabbing bags, and I mean, I was rigging them. I was them up and having them. So all I would have to do is, cut it off and retie. And but on day one, I think I ended up with 88 1/4. I think I sit a half inch behind. And I didn't have very good reception where I was at. I only had 2 spots where I could submit fish, but I was just like Abby said, that was the key. I was fishing 200 yards, and I would beat it up. I mean, after 2 days, I left my trail on. And after 2 days, I mean, I couldn't even see where I was sitting. The screen was so black.
Solid black line.
It's just a solid black line. And I probably,
back and forth
I would guess on Saturday I probably caught between 30 and 40 fish, easy.
Jesus.
With the wind blowing and everything, and I was just rocking and rolling. And then Sunday morning rolled around. Obviously, I went back there, and I'd had several people reach out. Lambert and were staying with Siddiqui and Christine and Guillermo, Russ, Josh Stewart was there, Jason Broge, and they were all encouraging. I'm like, I appreciate it, but I'm gonna find a way to screw this up. Ended up launching, and right out of the gates, uh, I didn't get anything for the first half hour, and that was making me nervous. And then I ended up hooking a 16 3/4. Like, okay, this is something. And then I ended up with I can't remember if I got the 18 or the 19 on Sunday.
19.
And I was like, yeah, I got the 19 on Sunday. Like, okay, and ironically, the 19 1/4, the 18, and the 19, the 19 1/4, the 18, and the 19 all came from the exact same spot. Exact same spot, but only one each day. And then
they weren't the same fish, were they?
Stretching and compressing on its way up.
Yeah.
Those weren't the same fish, but I ended up working my way up to. It was tough with the sun shining, and I regret there was a big flat out in the middle that I did not go fish. And I never fished it in practice, and I kept arguing with myself, just go out there, go out there, go out there. I'm like, you know what, that never works out for you in the past. So I would fish it hard and literally just kind of, when the wind picked up, that helped a ton. I was probably, my fish were coming in 10 to 12 foot of water, but I'd have to throw it out there, let it sink, and literally feel every single rock and just fish it slow. To the point, I would just kind of let that slow wind. I was drifting maybe half mile an hour, and just twitching, and working it really slow. And I ended up with 80.5 inches, feeling pretty confident. But I had my eyes on Abby, not knowing what he did, and then of course Jaxton called me at 2:01 or 3:01. I can't remember what time. A minute after the tournament ended, asking me if I called up, because he called up a couple times in that last, after they turned that. I think he called up at least one more time when they turned the leaderboard off. But I was worried about Logan, because he had
Mm-hmm.
he had some room to move in that last hour, and
yeah.
Well, I got packed up. I got on the road, and I didn't have reception for the first 40 minutes of the drive. But every now and again, your text message will come through when you get to those gaps or whatever. And I had a text message that popped up from AJ that said, "Hey, give me a call when you can." I'm like, "Oh man, this isn't good." So I did get to a spot where I had reception, and rather than just drive, I just pulled over and stopped. And I called them. Well, that 16 and 3/4 fish that I caught first thing in the morning, I caught the previous day.
Oh.
So, yeah, that cost me 2.5 inches.
Wow.
And I didn't ask him where I was sitting. I just asked him if that would change my position, and he said he didn't think so. He wasn't positive. He didn't want to commit to that, but he didn't think so. And at that time, I had no idea where I was sitting. So when we got back, and very rarely do I get the text to come to awards, and I obviously did get the text. So we got packed up because Jaxton and I had to get back here so he could leave for Florida. So we got packed up, went to awards, and we went through everything. And I got called up into that group of the top 5, and just through talking to people and stuff, I knew where everybody was at except Logan. And when his name was the first one to get called in 5th place, which is a huge accomplishment for him, and I want to give him kudos for that. But
yeah,
when his name got called, I started tearing up, because I knew where Jaxton was at too.
Yeah. No, man.
So that was it was a pretty special moment, and the standing up there for those, I don't know, 10 minutes or so while they went through fifth, fourth, and third. That's probably the longest 10 minutes of my life.
Oh yeah, I can it's long when we're watching it, especially I'm good buddies with Russ and stuff, and it's like situations where I know he's had a tournament, but you're just watching the award show. I can only if it's long for me, I can only imagine what it's like for the guys that it's happening to, and and I can't even imagine that feeling 1-2 with your son, and
especially given some of the history that you guys had,
and then having
and
that call
just fishing together
about that fish getting the penalty, or it's disqualified, right? It's DQ when that fish is.
Yeah, it was DQ'd, so it got replaced by a 14.25 inch fish. So that cost me 2.5 inches.
Which luckily didn't matter. Thank God. You still ended up with 166 overall for the 2-day. Edged out Jaxton, had 164 3/4, and then Abby right on y'all's heels at the 162 1/4. But what do you think about that rule? I've been thinking about that a lot after I saw Lambert have the same issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally don't, not that I don't agree with it. It's just most rules that come in place. It's sure, I don't agree with them, but then you kind of see okay, well, if X happens, I understand. So that's why this rule is in place. I don't really understand catching the same fish on 2 different days is, in my mind, so hard to do. I don't understand why that would. Same day, sure, I get it. But what are y'all's thoughts on it? Either one, both of y'all. I want to hear both y'all's opinion on it.
I mean, for me, I guess I do get it because for example, bed fishing.
That's the only time of year I feel that rule would come into play.
I made that argument. I don't know that it's kind of ethical to do that, to catch the same fish 2 days in a row. Maybe that's why that rule's in place. But what you're saying, you're offshore fishing and catch the same fish 2 days in a row, how that's pure luck kind of thing.
I mean, I think that's skill. Okay,
yeah, I don't agree with it. Same day, I understand, but if you're fishing 10, 12 feet of water and you catch that fish again on day 2, I mean that fish is just hungry.
Okay.
Yeah, and ironically, I mean, the fish came from, I had zero disagreement with AJ, especially after I looked at the fish. I mean, and a rule's a rule, right? So, I mean, whatever rule applies to me applies to everybody else. But, I went through and zoomed up on it, and the markings and stuff. I had no idea I caught the same. It was the same fish. Because I caught so many. They were a lot more scarce on Sunday than they were on Monday or on Saturday. But I caught so many on Saturday. I mean, I was just having fun. But when I looked at it, the fish came from the exact same place too. I mean, within a 200-yard stretch. I mean, it wasn't like it was 100 yards away. It was the exact same area.
That's insane. Oh man,
probably within 10 yards.
It's just crazy to think. It's not. I mean, I definitely understand it because me and Garrett talked about it. I definitely understood it from the bed fishing aspect, spawn time of year. But especially when we're fishing down here in the South and everybody knows we're out of that, they look at your GPS pins, they know where you're at on the lake. I don't know. Maybe that's a rule that gets kind of looked at again in the future. Maybe it doesn't. Who knows? I don't know. For it to happen to Lambert, I was like, dang, that is kind of terrible. And then I found out it happened, multiple times in a tournament. And I was like, geez, this could potentially be a problem. And, but I'm glad it worked out for you. I mean, and you had it absolutely. I mean, everybody talks about how tough Kentucky Lake can be, especially in the past, the tournaments we've had, like the KBF championship last year, and how good Russ did. But Russ was, fishing in the rivers and, had all that range, that was cut off for this tournament. So for you guys and Jaxton and, and everybody that really hammered on them, congrats to y'all. And showing that the lake's coming around and that it can fish really good. And I know, Abby, you being a smallmouth guy, like me coming into fishing and hearing about Kentucky Lake, that's what a lot of guys love doing, was ledge fishing for smallies on Kentucky Lake. So it's really cool to hear about, 90 inches, big bags of smallies being a big player out there again. Definitely
And
makes.
honestly, I probably caught over 92 and a quarter. I just quit measuring. I bet you I caught close to 94 if I really went through and measured them all.
Yeah.
But
it's a pretty solid day.
Yeah.
20-pound sack.
When you have I mean, when you have days like that, I mean, I told the guys back at the house, and they're like, "Oh, those fish will be gone." And I just had a feeling it was one of those areas that there was gravel there, there was that gravel rock there, and there was a lot of bait fish. And I just had a feeling the way that boat traffic was coming and the way the wind was coming, it was pushing all that stuff into there, and that's why those fish were there.
So what kind of stuff were you fishing exactly? Like, was this a kind of a flat offshore flat, or like off the main river channel?
I was literally in 4.5 to 6 feet of water at all time. Okay. And the furthest I cast it out to, I did go out there to see if there was a ledge on day 2 when that 30-minute lull there.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to see if there was maybe. I thought, okay, maybe there is a little bit of a ledge out there, and they're
pulling out
on that ledge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're laying on that ledge. So I did go out there, and the deepest I saw, it went out to 14 feet, but it was very gradual. It took me like 200 yards off the bank to get out to that 14 feet. So it wasn't anything like where it was like it went from 5 to 8 like now. It was very gradual. So the fish were in, I would say, 5.5 to 7.5 foot of water. And there was one particular area where I caught a lot of them. And again, there was a drop off to my left. It went from 7 foot down to 13 foot, but it wasn't. It was enough of a drop off where it was like a bank,
Yeah.
But they weren't there. They were up on that flat. And
that's crazy.
And I was laughing. John and I were laughing because all the boat guys were out on that 14-foot mark.
Yeah.
There was guys on tourneys, and they kept on coming and checking that 13-foot area, little bowl over here, and we're laughing because I made sure when there was a boat guy there, if I caught a fish, I made sure that I kept that fish down.
Yeah.
You want to get that bent rod pattern going,
because those guys down there, they don't care.
No,
I had guys cut me off two days in a row, coming like right off, and I just say, hey, thanks guys. I didn't get.
You're a bigger man than I am, because I'm gonna say a lot more than that.
Well, I figure, if they would have kept staying there and not kept going, I'd have said something.
Yeah.
But I know the one guy did see me catch the one 18-inch fish I caught, and because it must have jumped like 5 times. I couldn't keep it down from jumping.
Couldn't help it.
And I literally caught all those fish on one Fatty Z. I never changed that Fatty Z.
That's awesome.
So you got one guy over here going through 60 different ones, and he's got one going through them.
Yeah, Jim's the first guy I've heard of going through. Like, when you say going through them, were they you like breaking them off, getting them stuck in that stuff, or like actually just ruining the bait?
Well, no, I wouldn't. The TRDs were fine. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the TRDs, but dragging them slow over those rocks. I mean, I get them stuck, and I'd pedal up to it. Well, even if what I learned was, I mean, even if I was able to get the thing loose, I mean, it'd come up, and that hook would be gapped, and rather than screw around with trying to bend it back or whatever, I've got a whole. I should have brought them just to show you. I mean, I've got probably a whole bag full of TRDs, with hooks on them, with heads and everything. But it's I didn't want. I just wasn't up for wasting any time. one of the things, I've learned a ton of stuff from Jaxton over the years. I watched that kid. He's not a kid anymore. He's a young man, but I watched him go through so much line, and the line on my reels. I mean, I change it when I run out, or I mean, it's just so brittle. I have to change it.
You're a man after
But the
my
one
own
thing,
heart.
the one thing he's taught me though over the, and so I just run my finger up there from that TRD. I'd run it up, a couple feet, and every time I felt something, okay, I cut it off, tie another one on. I wasn't taking any chances. And I think, that's been one of the hardest rule changes for me, has been not communicating on the water, because, over the years, I mean, I've just been, and it's not about sharing of information, but, like,
kind of like a social event. Like
yeah, well, it's social, but at the same time, I mean, Jaxton and I were fishing. I mean, he was 5 minutes from the house. I was an hour and 10 minutes from the house, and the only way I could see how he was doing or see what kind of headspace he was in or whatever was to look at the leaderboard. And I've been and he'll tell you. I mean, to the point I'm probably make him sick over it. Because I tell him, why look at the leaderboards? I mean, that's costing you a cast, and that's a chance at a fish. So I didn't spend myself. I spent more time looking at the leaderboard, not to see where I was at, but literally watching him climb. I think he started out with uh, 72 or 74 inches. He started the day out with on Sunday, and he climbed himself up to, I think it was 84 something,
85
maybe
and a half.
85 and a half. Yeah. And I just kept watching him go. And, I had no idea what he had done there in that last hour, but that was the hardest part for me, is not being able to talk, and just be a voice of inspiration, I guess.
Yeah. I hope that there's an amendment to that rule, at least a little bit. I definitely understand the rule, but
oh, so yeah, no,
a little bit for this event at least. He laxed up on it as far as like in person. They mentioned it at the captain's meeting.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
so like
that was weird. That was weird too.
Yeah, I was like,
because
why did they change that last minute like that?
Yeah, I'm glad they did because
and when you said that, I mean, I knew where Jaxton was fishing, and I knew where I was fishing. I'm like, well, that's not even gonna, I mean, we're so far apart. I mean, I didn't even see him in the morning because he was, he got to sleep in until 45 minutes after I left.
Yeah.
So, but no, that was.
I was 5 minutes from our house too.
That's nice.
Yeah, we were staying all the way at the north end, and of course, I ended up fishing the south end of the boundaries.
Yeah.
But that was super cool for me, just to be able to do that and to be that far apart, and end up right back together at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. Really cool feeling, I'm sure. I've got a kid. She doesn't care about fishing, but got another one on the way, so I'm hopeful that maybe this one gets the bug and we can do this kind of stuff together. And enjoy it.
Kind of, you gotta set in the standard for us right now.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it'd be a lot worse for me and my kid because, I don't want my kid beating me. You know what I'm saying? Like, would you beat you got Jaxton this time, and I'm stoked for you because
he came damn close. So
he did.
Yeah.
He was coming.
Yeah, he came damn close. But you know what? At the end of the day, it wouldn't have mattered.
Oh no, that's it. Really cool story, and it's just really, really awesome how it worked out. And congrats to you again on the big win, and getting to
thank you.
Get to experience all that with all those great people, and getting to still get that spot after the little issue with the fish. And Abby, congrats on freaking hammering on smallies, and
thank you.
just getting up there, getting a good check, and getting in the TOC. And I mean, the rest of your year is pretty much set unless you're shooting for AOI. So
I'm waiting for that to come out because I'm kind of curious now where I'm going to sit in that. You know,
Yeah, this should help you a lot for that.
Yeah, it should. It should put me. I think I was in 57th, but
How are they
honestly,
doing
I
that
didn't.
this year? Is it like your best 4 or your best
The best
That's 4.
4? Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't submit a fish at Sandy. So, and I didn't fish Sandy.
Neither did I, Abby.
Yeah. And I didn't
Yeah,
fish.
yeah. No, I got smoked for the first time ever. I got smoked on Fanny.
Huh.
Yeah. I didn't
Well, what a
fish Seminole.
comeback.
So that 57th is off of 2 places. Off of 2 Caddo and Harris Chain. So
Yeah.
that
So
should.
what he's saying, folks, is he's about to scream up that leaderboard.
Oh yeah. It sounds like
Yeah,
they're going to be right in his backyard, kind of.
Well, and then coming into
Cayuga.
the next scoring event for you coming into Cayuga, yeah, that can play heavy.
I gave
to
myself 2 bad tourneys, so they're taking 4. I'm fishing 6.
Just
So
trying to
I
get
gave
everybody
myself-
else a chance.
you.
No,
He's just trying to
I'm
have that dramatic finish to the year.
Yeah.
I'm blessed that that I was able to come up and get 3rd because that, like I said, a lot of stars had to line for that to happen, and luckily it did.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Well, I think that was something cool about this event is that like no one was really out of it. Like there was a lot of people that had a chance at jumping up there and cutting check, or like what you're saying, you were a 35th or 30 something
Yeah, I
day
was
1,
35th on day 1. Yeah.
yeah, and jumped all the way up to 3rd. That's what I was telling my buddy I stayed with, because I was in like 28th or something. I was like, man, top 10 is definitely doable if you just go out there and have a good day. I mean, it's not out
Yeah.
of the reach. Nobody really blew it out of the water.
And that's what I did. I set my sights for just to get the top 20 to get good points. That at that time, I was just looking to get good points, and like I said, for that to happen, it was just when John told me that, I thought he was joking with me. You're sitting in 2nd place. I was like, what?
There's no way.
Yeah, there's exactly what I said. That's impossible. I said there's people didn't turn in their fish. So, and I love everybody. I'm sorry, Jim. Good.
Oh no! I was going to say, and the one thing that just popped in my brain because I'm sitting here like, I mean, it seems like it was 2 months ago, but it wasn't that long ago. Francis Tran too. I mean, he was leading day 1. And
88 and 3/4
Lambert.
Day 1.
Yeah, and Lambert had left early, and I remember getting a text from him on the water, and I was in that stretch where I had reception, and I happened to check my phone, and it said something like seal the deal or whatever, and I said, hey, I'm worried about Francis, and or no, it was right after the tournament ended, I guess, and he said, you did it, I'm proud of you. I said, I'm worried about Francis, and he said that Francis had posted something right at 2:00 that he'd only got 4, so I'm with Abby. I mean, there was a lot of stars that had to align, but I want to make sure we give kudos to Francis because he had a hell of a day 1, and he was only one fish away from having a whole different tournament.
Oh yeah, I mean, big shout out to everybody because again, what Garrett keeps going back to is there was a lot of good day 1s and then decent day 2s that help move some people around, and then a lot of the vice versa with decent day 1s or top 40, top 30, and then a little bit better day 2. So just a shout out to basically everybody in the tournament. Most everybody that was catching limits was really moving the leaderboards around, keeping themselves in it, giving themselves a chance.
I think I was
really good
look at
event.
that. It looked like there was, over half the field had a limit day 1. It was like all the way down to 65th place had a limit on day 1 out of 109. There's just so many of that. I don't know, 14 to 16-inch fish range in that lake right now. It was like the leaderboard was like stacked between quarter of an inch all the way down.
Yeah,
So that kind of made it exciting.
absolutely. Well, what do you, before we let you guys get out of here, and want to know what do y'all got next? Who's going where next?
Go ahead,
I'm going
Abby.
Cayuga.
Likewise.
Cayuga.
Yep, I'll be
For
at Cayuga as
Jim
well.
and I, that's probably not that far.
That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's one of the closer tournaments.
Yeah. So it'll be nice to only drive 5.5 hours.
Yeah, we got a little farther than that to go, but
I've been I was supposed to go to Cayuga last week or week before and didn't get up there. So I've been debating on trying to get in on that registration for that one and go up there. I just don't know if I want my first time in New York to be in a tournament. You know,
My buddy fishes the Toyota series, and he took second up there, and he caught 31 pounds.
Oh,
On 5 fish. So that gives you any
Yeah,
indication what kind of fish are
maybe
out
I
there.
should go anyway then.
Yeah.
you know, and I don't want to speak for Abby, but for me, that's kind of it changes things. You know, I've been one of my goals coming into the season. You know, I was able to qualify with Jaxton for the very first TOC that they had. We both qualified on the same stage at Lake St. Clair. Um, my goal was just to accumulate enough points, you know, because I've had narrow misses the last couple of years on points.
Yeah.
My goal is to have enough points to qualify with them again. So for me, going to Cayuga and the New River, probably up to Wisconsin too. I'm looking forward just to having some fun and having some of the pressure off.
Yeah,
likewise.
Yeah, definitely.
Until the AOI update and Abby sees that he's within striking distance, so the pressure will turn right back on. But
yeah, I'm not gonna.
I'm guessing Abby and I are going to be, because I've only got 3 events that qualify, and I mean, if I'm looking at things, you know, I'll be sitting mid-20s, hopefully. You know, I'm guessing Abby and I are going to be pretty doggone close, because I think I was sitting in right at 50th coming into this one on 2 events.
I did see that, Jim. You were like at 50, and
heck yeah.
Yeah, so we'll be sitting side by side again.
Where it jumps to. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, before we let you guys get out of here, we always like to give everybody a chance to thank, you know, sponsors, family, or anybody that makes, you know, this traveling and fishing easier for them. So Abby, if you want to start, man.
Z-Man, you know, I'm going to say a lot about them because I've been with them for 6 years now. And when I went over to the kayak side, they stepped right up and got behind me. And, you know, Native has been a big part. The Bonafide rods, Boss rods, I started fishing those. They just come out this year, and I've been nothing but happy with those. And then, yeah, they're nice. Yeah, need to look at them, especially their chatterbait rod. But Bubba Blade, Fishing Online, Amped Outdoors lithium batteries. They, you know, I went to that 100 amp battery, and that's a game changer too, going to a 100 amp battery. Hobie eyewear. When I'm sight fishing, that's a major part. I do a lot of sight fishing, especially up here. You know, we're just in the spawn up here, so it's pretty. Erie is on fire right now.
I've heard. So, I'm so jealous.
Yeah, I'll be up there twice next week. So, and then I have Sims and Yeti and Abu Garcia, and I'm trying to think of everybody here. So, I have about 10 or 11. So that without those guys, you know, it's really hard to. And like Jim said, how many bags of Neds he bought. You know, it's just hard when you're fishing. People don't realize how much money you spend on that stuff. And Cigar line, that was another huge thing. Cigar line for me, I was using an 8-pound gold label leader, and for me, it was they wouldn't eat the swim bait with a 10-pound leader. I tried to get them to eat it, and they wouldn't. But then I was catching them on jackhammer on 15-pound tatsu. So go figure.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Picky ass fish, man.
Yeah. So,
Especially
but yeah,
smallmouth.
I was using the Tactex braid, which I loved, and to an 8-pound gold label leader, and that was primarily what saved me around that rock. You know, and that's a, you know, family and friends, of course. You know, the guys I stay with: Lambert, Dylan Lowry, John Klein, Joe Eisner, Adam Milstead, Jeff Malott. You know what? Our house is always so fun. You know, and,
I can only imagine.
I mean, if you know Ryan Lambert, you know you're not going to have a boring time.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, just a great bunch of guys. I made so many new friends, and I wouldn't have any other way. Love it.
Awesome, man. Well, Jim, what about you?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I want to thank the man upstairs for giving me the opportunity to be here to do this and allowing keeping us all safe on the roads. I want to thank Hobie for everything that they do, for making a hell of a boat, for changing our lives for the better. I want to thank AJ McWhorter as a friend and for being the best damn tournament director that this. You know, I mean, he's changed the game of kayak tournament fishing.
For sure.
I want to thank Dakota Lithium, Stormy, for put me on Team Dakota Lithium for my birthday at the Susquehanna River. I think that's just because he liked Jaxton so much. Yeah, Terry Archbold and Corey Archbold at Dry Dock Marina. They're they're my sponsors locally, but again, that's because Jaxton got promoted to the regional team and they asked me to fill his shoes. So I appreciate them for everything that they've done for Jaxton along the way, which translated into helping me out as well. Um, I want to thank my friends, my family, my fishing family. It's awesome. I mean, I mean, it's easy to get upset when you don't do well in these tournaments, but for me, it's twofold. Yeah, I want to do well in the tournaments, but I look forward to hanging out with everybody. You know, and I mean, we ran into Lambert. I can't remember was it Ralph's? I can't remember.
Oh yeah, we were all at Ralph's. Yeah,
yeah, we were all at Ralph's, and you know that was just by chance. But yeah, fun night, you know, and everybody for all the encouraging messages along the way, you know, and you know, and it sounds a little cliche, I guess, but I want to thank all of Jaxton's sponsors, and I couldn't even begin to name them all, but you know, there's Fishing Online, St. Croix, Dakota Lithium. I mean, because by them doing what they've done for him, I've been able. It's made it so much easier for me to get him to places and stuff. And obviously, I mean, you know, there was a point I taught Jaxton to fish, or just down here at our pond. He started fishing when he was 3 and 4 years old. But as you know, when he was 12, 13, 14, probably when he turned 14, you know, when the chatterbait started becoming popular and stuff like that. I mean, I started learning from him, you know, and one thing that I do, you know, I mean, if he's sponsored by St. Croix, I don't use a Shimano rod. I use a St. Croix rod. You know, I try to support the people that support him. So I want to thank them for everything that they've done for him and the equipment and gear that they make because it's helped make me successful too along the way. So
that's awesome, man. Very well said. Very well put. Well,
I
guys,
also
man,
want to thank AJ and Steve Fields as well. You know, they've been very welcoming just to me alone, you know, coming into this sport. And Jim is right. They put on a great, it's so well, it's like an oil machine. And
yeah,
you know, nothing's going to be out of line or out of place. And you know what you're getting into when you're getting out of it.
Yeah, and I forgot
Oh
to
yeah.
mention Steve. I mean, that guy does a hell of a job on. I mean, really, both of them together. I mean, they don't have the, if you look at years past, I mean, the support staff that they had there to help them out. I mean, they're doing it. They're doing it alone, and for them to do what they do, and the amount of the phone calls, the judging, everything that gets all the footage, the video,
On
the
the water
pictures
content and stuff
on
they're
the
getting.
water, the setup, the tear down.
Yeah.
No, it's there's there's two guys that there's a lot of heart, and
Heck
they're
yeah.
doing it for all of us, and we all appreciate that.
That's right.
Absolutely. Well, man, again, I can't thank y'all enough for getting to come back on. I know it's a week late, but there's traveling and schedule conflict and stuff. But we appreciate y'all having the time to jump on with us and talk about the event. And again, congratulations on everybody doing so well and really showing out in Kentucky Lake. But
Thank you.
we'll be keeping up with y'all through the rest of the year and hope to have y'all back on again soon, man.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Be
Awesome.
watching
Thank
you
you
guys
guys
in
for
that
having us.
AOI standing.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna let y'all get out of here, and we again appreciate your time, and we hope to get to talk to you all again soon. And good luck on your journey.
All right.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys.
All right.
See ya. Have a good night.
Awesome.
Yeah. Good
Makes me
stuff.
kind of want to go play with Kentucky Lake a little bit now.
I mean, it's not as bad as what it's got, the rap that it's gotten in the past couple of years. It's
I
not
haven't been
bad.
there since 2020, and that was my first experience, and it was already kind of like meh. But
Yeah, there's been a bunch of times I've gone out there and beat my brains in and not had a good time.
and see, that's what most of it is it's not my experiences with it. It's like close friends, people I trust with fishing advice, and it's like some of you guys when I know that y'all can catch fish any given day, any given place, and you come back and Kentucky Lakes beat your face in, I don't want anything to do with it. Like,
Yeah.
I absolutely have zero confidence at that point.
Well, I will say that it seems like now you're starting to see the fruits of the labor of all of the stocking efforts and stuff that TWRA and Kentucky Fish and Wildlife have really tried to do over the last couple years.
Thank God for all the rednecks shooting carp.
Yeah, that too. The carp fishing tournaments or carp bow fishing tournaments and the programs that they got now about with the nets that they drag offshore and haul in thousands of pounds of carp, and I mean all of that stuff makes a difference, and I think you're starting to see it.
Heck
And
yeah.
that in combination with we've just had some pretty good years of like spawn classes the last couple years because it's been stable. We hadn't had like crazy fluctuations and
Yeah.
water levels and stuff. So they've had a chance to kind of get caught back up. If we could say
Well,
that.
hopefully, here's to hoping that it stays on the up and starts to become a big time event again. Even, I mean, I want to see the boat world go back out there. I used to like watching the pros go out there and ledge fish in the middle of the summer.
Fight
And
each other over the
yeah,
ledges.
Jason Lambert coming in with 31 pounds a day, taking caught 31 pounds by like 10 a.m. on the final day, the last time they were there, and ordered a pizza and had it delivered to the bank and just had his boat parked on the bank. And that's how he finished his tournament. That was when I first got back into watching tournament bass boat fishing. And that was the event and the day that I saw that happen and was like, oh, yeah, hell yeah, that's a goal. Like,
That's major goals.
Well, we're going to get into the tournament recap. I'm going to start with one that was sent to us by Mr. Carl Ball. So this was a Western Canada kayak fishing trail, kicked off a Alan Zolkowski Memorial Trout on the Fly tournament. So 47 anglers show up to fish for trout at the Open Creek Dam. They could do kayaks, canoes, hybrids, and inflatables. First place went to Michael St. Germain with his 3 fish totaling 28 3/4 inches. And again, this is a trout fly tournament in a kayak, which is pretty sick.
Yeah, that's kind of nuts.
Yeah, a lot of we covered a fly event last week, or we mentioned one.
Yeah.
And I've had a couple people like not even put fly fishing and kayaking in the same like idea before. And I always, go back to my new canoe route when I was on team. Like the Frontier was kind of designed around that to be able to easily fly fish, strip line, and not snag on anything. So it's
Has, like,
definitely
a
there. So
giant
if you're a
open-
fly angler that listens to this, you should give it a swing. But
Yeah, don't they make like some kind of stand or something that you can stand up in with the new canoes that is built for fly fishing?
I think they've
It
got
has,
one of their assist bars, but like I know they've got real docks so that you
yeah,
can mount your rods that you're not using in the boat. They may have used to have a platform actually. Now that I think about it, I can't remember. But yeah, they had anglers come from all over Canada, the BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan. And again, it was a memorial tournament for very avid angler and kayak fisherman, well known to those guys, Alan Zolkowski. Couple honorable things to mention: $750 was donated by Rimby Fish and Game Association. $1,323 was donated by the Lacombe Fish and Game Association. So they had a bunch of other prizes donated as well. I mean, they even had a Garmin Live Scope donated. So lots of cool giveaways out in this one. The Angler
yeah.
Choice Award went to Terry Shikrabot. I probably butchered that, and I'm sorry. The Sportsman Award went to Ben Zokowski, and the Should Have Stayed on Shore Award. Oh my God, I've got to use that for a tournament. The Should Have Stayed on Shore Award went to Trevor Thompson. So thank you guys for listening, because obviously you're listening to our show if you're sending this in. Hope you enjoyed the shout out. I appreciate you sending this to us, because I don't know if I would have seen it any other way. But really cool thing y'all did out there, and I hope to hear about some more events from you guys in the future.
Yeah, I think we need to cover one of these Canadian tournaments at some point, because it sounds like there's a lot of cool stuff happening up there.
And they have big turnouts. Like,
yeah,
I mean, that was a fly only, and it was 40 something anglers, but they had a bass tourney last week that had 120 people in it, like a kayak bass tournament. Like that's hammering them. Well, we're gonna get into the last little bit of the show. I've only got a few tournaments to cover this week, so it won't take too long. We'll get into it right now. The Grassroots Bass Yakin event up in Indiana on Naona Lake and South Mud Lake. It was a multi-single day tournament. You pick one day to fish. 32 anglers, 5 fish limit, 14-inch fish limit per angler weight. Yeah, 14-inch limit. So 14 inches smallest. First place, Bryce Frisch with 83.5. Second place, James Miller with 81.25. Third place, Nathan Widener with 76.75. Moving on from there, we had the Grassroots Bass Yakin event on the Tippecanoe River. So this was the other part of that event. 33 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place, Brian Moore with 92.75. Second place, Jim Bailey with 91. And third place, Eric Tracy with 81 inches. Moving on from there, the Fishing for Soldiers 10th Annual Kayak Fishing Charity Event in Knoxville. Benefits the Smoky Mountain Service Dogs. Eligible waters were Fort Loudon, Watts Bar, Tellico, Holston River, French Broad River, Chickamauga, Norris, Cherokee, Douglas, and Melton Hill. I hadn't heard of Melton Hill. It's only one of those I don't know.
It's up by, it's up in that region,
yeah,
Tennessee region.
So that was a double dip event with the Tennessee Bass Nation on Watts Bar. 65 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place, Josh Sharp with 95 inches, killing it. Second place, Eric Romneys, 88.5. Third place, Gary Nicely with 87.75. Down to the Tennessee Bass Nation event on Watts Bar. 54 anglers, 5 fish limit. First place, the man Jordan Marshall getting it done with 85 inches. Second place, Marcus Grubbs with 81.5. And third place, Josh King with 81. Next up,
Tennessee River event. That was about 85 inches to win it.
Yep, 85 exactly.
I was supposed to go fish that one, but wife
didn't happen. Yeah, honey-do list.
Well, that, and I had to get new tires because on my way home from Kentucky Lake, I had a flat.
That'll
had
do
a
it.
giant nail stuck in my tire, and I was like, "There's my sign. Take a break for a second."
Moving on, we had the Bayou Coast Kayak Fishing Club Dawn to Dusk event. It's a statewide in Louisiana. Longest combined lengths of 1 redfish, 1 trout, and 1 flounder. 63 anglers. First place, Steve Lassard with 67 inches. Second place, Joshua Red with 66 3/4. Third place, Cody Drago with 62 3/4. And last up is the All-Star Fishing Team Shootout in Lake Fayette in Texas. It was 2-man teams, and there were 29 teams. First place was the Little Dinkers, Clint Hopkins and Brian Scarberry with 144 3/4. Second place was the Tupperware Pirates with Oat Shaw and Robert New with 144 inches. And third place was the Tail Pinchers, Nick Parker and Nathan Chanulark with 143 1/4. And that was it for, I love the team tournament stuff just because the names are fantastic.
That reminds me, there's a cast team tournament that starts tomorrow. I need to get signed up for.
Got a teammate?
I do not. No.
Send me the info.
All right.
I'm itching to do a tournament, and I don't want to go to Pickwick, so give me an excuse not to.
It's just a month long where it's to benefit our state championship. So like part of the funds goes towards helping with that.
Is it just like a month-long joint best 5 or?
Yeah. So it's your best 5, well, best 10, I guess. So 5 from each teammate. I think Trey and Lambert usually win it.
Trey
Johnson?
And,
yeah.
Him and Lambert team up?
The last couple years that we didn't do it last year, but the year before that and the year before that, I can't remember what they called their team name. They always called it a Big Johnson or something like that.
Well, that fits Trey if you know Trey, and if Trey's listening, which I know he is, he's gonna have to hit me up. I need to know about this. See if him and Lambert team up, then I'm gonna have to team up with you just with one goal in mind to take them down. Yeah. Well, all right, folks. Show ran a little long. It's starting to happen more often. I'm about it. I like a little bit of a longer show. I want you to hear our savory voices all day. So that was a good one.
Information. Yeah,
we did, and it was really cool to get to hear everything from Jim's point of view. You can tell he's really proud of his son, and it really means a lot to him to get up on stage with him and get that win and everything. So it was really, really good show.
That's such a cool story. And
absolutely.
I hope that someday that I get to have an opportunity at something like that.
Yeah, me too. Well, don't know what we got going on next week. I think it will be the Possum Kingdom winners from the Bassmaster Kayak Series event that's happening this weekend. So will the Possum King take it? Oh my God, I just forgot his name. Give me a second. I've had drinks with this man. I shot pool with him. Can't remember his name.
Mark?
Looks just like Ryan Lambert. Mark Pendergraph.
Yeah.
So maybe Mark's got it. You got to watch out for Joe Mack in this one. That's the only person that Mark, edged out that was anywhere close was Joe. Joe's on some good fish too, so we'll see. But we'll have those winners on next week. We'll see you same time, same place.
And after that, we got the KBF on Chickamauga coming up.
I thought about skipping the Pickwick event to go do that one.
Yeah, I forgot that was happening and just realized it and maybe considering it now.
So did I. And it was actually my wife. I always write down all the tournaments I consider at the very beginning of the year. And I was telling her, and she was looking at her calendar because about the local club event that was happening. And she was like, "Oh, hey, the KBF on Chicks the same day. Or which one are you going to?" And I was like, I don't want to go to Pickwick anyway. Like, let's go to Chick.
Yeah. There's also a Tennessee Bass Nation on Douglas that I'm considering, but
no, you go fish Chick with me so you can show me where I need to be because I don't know shit about Chick.
Well, I can tell you one thing about Chick in June is that you better be on a ledge somewhere.
I can't do that.
Well,
I mean, I can kind of do that.
You don't have to, but that's probably what wins it.
Ugh.
I'd say that. I think
Well,
that's
maybe I'll just go to Pickwick.
what last year was it last year or the year before last that they had the Hobie on Chick in
Last
June?
year.
Last year, and Justin Patrick won offshore, like smashed him. I think he won by like 20 inches or something like that, right?
It was a big gap. I remember that.
Yeah.
If I had live scope, I would like, I'm not very confident on ledges, but I feel like where I'm not confident, the live scope would help me gain my confidence on that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We're starting to get into the time of the year that I do really good. And I can say that, like, I've done good on Pickwick when you're supposed to be out fishing the ledges, and I was nowhere near that. So as we ease into these times of year, I kind of start to just fish my style of getting away from everybody. And I never know. Maybe I could make something happen with that out there. Who knows? We'll see. I got a couple weeks to think about it. Well, I guess I have like a week to think about it.
Yeah, you got about a week.
So
you'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll see y'all next week, folks. Same place, same time, like I said. Make sure you go give Jim and Abby a follow. Make sure you check out everything Paddle and Fin. Check out our other shows. Give all of our hosts some love. And we'll see you next week. Peace.
See ya.